Hey guys, it's Got Bars here, the self-proclaimed hip-hop historian, and this is the 332nd episode of my series, where I grab a vinyl from my collection, talk about why I love it, what influence it has, and what its place is in the grand scheme of hip-hop. So getting back to Atlanta's own Big Boy and Andre 3000, the LP we are discussing today is arguably their most diversive and controversial release, at least amongst the fans, despite being literally the single best hip-hop album of all time. And if you have even an inkling of knowledge about the grand Outkast discography, or if you read the title of the video, you probably know exactly what project I'm referring to, as it was also the 2004 Album of the Year at the Grammys, joining Lauryn Hill's The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill as the only hip-hop albums ever to win that award. Which kind of says a lot considering they're both so heavily invested with R&B and other genres, arguably even more than rap. Of course, I'm alluding to 2003's Speakerboxxx / The Love Below, a massive undertaking of a double LP, in which the final result would end up spanning over 2 hours in length and was famously broken up into two sides, one for each member of Outkast, which in this case definitely ended up working out for them in the long run. But at the same time, it was a pretty clear sign that the two were beginning to drift apart stylistically. And of course, following 2006's Idlewild, their final album as a duo, Three Stacks has all but completely retired from the mic, at least when it comes to full-length projects, but ever since 2005's Got Perp Volume 2 compilation tape, which he dropped with the short-lived collective Purple Ribbon All-Stars, Big Boy, on the other hand, has stayed somewhat active with his solo career, keeping the fans fed with a small handful of post-2000s releases, including 2010's Sir Lucius Leftfoot, son of Chico Dusty, 2012's Vicious Lies and Dangerous Rumors, 2017's Boomiverse, and his 2021 collaboration with longtime friend Sleepy Brown called Big Sleepover. At this point in the channel's lifespan, I've already covered at least half of the projects in the Outkast pantheon, first with their 1998 magnum opus Lemini, then I went on to discuss other personal favorites like 1996's ATLiens, as well as Stankonia, which dropped right at the turn of the century. And while of course I'll leave the links for those reviews down below in the description as usual, you may be wondering why I haven't done their classic 1994 debut, Southern Playalistic Cadillac Music, especially because if you've seen my ranking for all the Dungeon Family albums in my collection, you'll know I actually put that LP at a higher spot than Speakerboxxx The Love Below. And the only reason I haven't discussed Southern Playalistic despite preferring it overall is because it was only in my last set of 90s classics that I touched on ATLiens, which obviously takes a higher precedence over the other two, and I didn't really want to have any artist included twice in one set. So even though the debut is already on my list for the next group of 90s classics, I didn't see any real good reason to hold off on Speakerboxxx for another 2000s group, especially when it dominated the charts in such a virtually unparalleled way for rap albums. While a debate could be had about whether this experience is a bit bloated or not, at the end of the day, it's so diverse, expansive, and otherworldly that it's hard to be upset that we're given more opposed to less. Plus, both of the sides here are so jam-packed with top-tier memorable moments. I struggle to definitively say which is better, especially considering one would pretty much be lost without the other. The first half of the double album is designated to Big Boy, and it's without a doubt the more rap-focused side of the project, giving us hardcore, in-your-face Dirty South anthems, like Tomb of the Boom or Last Call, but he also blesses us with one of the catchiest songs the duo ever put together, The Way You Move, where Organized Noise member Sleepy Brown cranks out a hook that hasn't aged a day in 20 years. And it's so good it's practically impossible to hate, no matter what age or type of music fan you are. Big Boy also comes up with one of the most experimental and forward-thinking moments in the entire Outkast discography here, with literally the very first track after the intro, Ghetto Music, another clear highlight for me, where this busy, chaotic instrumental swarms and builds until it makes your head spin. But then these occasional beat switches come in which are absolutely sublime, and not only alter the vibe completely, but they also switch the BPM. to keep you on your toes, and that's an aspect you don't often hear in most hip-hop records. Because even if there is a beat switch in a modern Travis Scott or Kanye song, it virtually always is keeping the same tempo as the instrumental before it. I've said it a million times by now on the page, but Big Boy is such an alien MC that he could find a pocket no matter what flavor of beat you throw at him. And while the Love Below side would end up proving more commercially viable, again, it wouldn't end up being the same experience at all if we didn't have the extremely innovative Speakerboxxx half to flesh it out. Now, while the second side is almost completely void of rapping, barring the final track, the reason I have to assume it's the more successful side, if that's something that can even be quantified with a double LP, is solely because of two smash hit singles that appear on it, which go by the names of Roses and Hey Ya. I don't think I even really have to explain anything about those staples of modern music, especially the second one, which I have to admit was the first Outkast song I ever heard and fell in love with, though I'm sure I'm not the only one who was a kid at that time and had that similar experience. While those were the Billboard hits that would assist Miss Jackson in really turning Andre and Big Boy into household names, over the years I found myself drawn more and more to other moments on the Love Below side, as 3K really shows his chops for creating a musical experience completely void of his hip-hop roots. And it's insanely admirable that a rapper with no traditional musical training at this point to my knowledge managed to create this seamless, hour-long blend of jazz, R&B, soul, and other genres. One of my favorite moments in this department comes towards the back end of the project, where 3 Stacks embarks on a super inventive and unique cover of the classic John Coltrane song, My Favorite Things, which, if you aren't a jazz fan, you may be more familiar with through the Sound of Music version by Julie Andrews. But either way, with their take here, the end result is far from any other iteration you've ever heard of this old standard, giving it this very bombastic and futuristic feel. There's countless other killer tracks from Andre 3000 on this thing, from the gorgeous and low-key Love Below intro that kicks off his side, to the energetic and highly metaphorical Dracula's Wedding. But there's just something about the melody 3K cooks up for the song She's Alive that's always proved to be such an earworm for me. It proceeds to get re-stuck in my brain every few years when I return to Speakerboxxx The Love Below, which is exactly what happened again this time around. Unsurprisingly, with an undertaking this grand and all-encompassing, we have a long list of guest appearances who showed up to play their part, including Sleepy Brown, Jazzy Fa, Bamboo, Concrete, Lil Jon and the East Side Boys, E-Mac, Henry Welch, Slim Calhoun, Mello, Tony Hunter, Rosario Dawson, Farnsworth Bentley, Khalees, Nora Jones, Jay-Z, Killer Mike, Ludacris, as well as Big Jip, Cujo, and CeeLo of Goody Mob. As for the instrumentals on this thing, it's actually a surprisingly tight group of producers who went about this massive undertaking. And this roster was comprised of names like Carl Moe, Cutmaster Swift, Dojo 5, Mr. DJ, as well as Andre and Big Boy themselves. This is a bit of a unique case when it comes to narrowing down my favorite tracks, since it's such a giant heap of material we're dealing with. So what I think I'm gonna do is leave out some of the heavy hitters I already discussed, like Hey Ya, Roses, or The Way You Move, and make my overall top 3 Ghetto Music, Flip Flop Rock, and A Life in the Day of Benjamin Andre incomplete. As for honorable mentions, I obviously have a few more recommendations than normal, so I'm going to get right into those shoutouts, which include songs like Unhappy, Bowtie, The Rooster, Bust, War, Church, Reset, Tomb of the Boom, Knowing, Last Call, Behold a Lady, My Favorite Things, Pink and Blue, Vibrate, She's Alive, Dracula's Wedding, Take Off Your Cool, and Love in War. Thank you for watching my 332nd video. Next up, we have a collaboration from 2 of the greatest minds to ever get behind a beat machine. So look for that one, and if you enjoyed, be sure to like, subscribe, and let me know what your favorite moments are off this controversial yet prestigious release. Don't forget to have a great day, and I'll see you next time, okay? Alright.